Hello, welcome to Sleep with Science, our relaxing journey tonight. First, find the most comfortable position for yourself. You might be lying in bed, your head resting on a soft pillow, or if you prefer, you can sit with your back against a cushion. There are no rules here. Just be comfortable. Tonight, we will explore ancient Egypt together. But this is not a history lecture. These are gentle stories, interesting facts told slowly. The only purpose is to help you relax and gradually drift into sleep. You don't need to remember anything. You don't need to concentrate too much. Just listen and let your mind rest. If you fall asleep halfway through, that's perfectly wonderful. That's exactly what we want. Now take a deep breath. Breathe in slowly and breathe out gently. Very good. We will begin our journey right now. Imagine you are standing by the Nile River on a peaceful afternoon thousands of years ago. The sunlight is fading, the air is cool, and everything is so calm. Close your eyes for a moment. Let yourself drift back in time thousands of years, back to a place where the sun rises golden over endless sands, where a river flows quiet and eternal. This is the Nile, and this is where our story begins tonight. The ancient Egyptians never called their land Egypt. That name came much later from others. They had their own word, soft and warm on the tongue. They called it Kemet, a beautiful word that means the black land. Not black like night or shadows, but black like the richest soil you've ever seen. Black like the earth that gives life. This was the color of the mud that the Nile brought to them every single year, like a promise kept. Picture this black ribbon of fertile land stretching along the river. Now picture what lies beyond it. The Deshret, they called it. The red land, endless desert, stretching to the horizon, dry and quiet under the sun. The contrast is gentle, but clear. On one side, green fields and life. On the other, red sand and stillness. Sometimes the line between them is just a few steps wide. Life and silence living side by side, year after year. The Nile flows from south to north. This might seem unusual if you're used to other rivers. Most rivers flow the other way, but the Nile goes its own way, as it always has. Because of this, the Egyptians had their own way of thinking about direction. The south, where the river came from higher ground, they called Upper Egypt. The north, where the river met the sea, they called Lower Egypt. It doesn't matter if this feels a little backwards. What matters is the river itself, flowing gently, carrying life along its path. Every year around July, something wonderful would happen. The Nile would begin to rise. Not suddenly, not violently, just a slow, steady rising. The water would climb the banks, inch by inch, day by day. Then it would spill over soft and generous, covering the fields with a thin layer of water. The people expected this. They watched for it. They welcomed it. This wasn't a flood to fear. This was a gift. When the water finally pulled back, retreating to the river, it left something precious behind. A layer of dark, rich silt, fresh soil, soft and fertile. This is what made everything grow. Wheat would sprout here. Barley would wave in the breeze. Vegetables would push up through this dark earth. All thanks to the river's annual visit. Take a breath with me now. In slowly, out gently. Let your shoulders drop just a little. The Egyptians were careful observers of their river. They knew its moods, its rhythms. They invented a simple tool to measure the water level. Stone pillars standing in the river with marks carved into them. Some were like staircases leading down into the water. They called these Nilometers. Every day, priests would check them. If the water rose just right, not too high, not too low, they knew it would be a good year. The fields would be generous. The harvest would be full. If the water rose too high, it might damage homes and wash away too much. If it rose too low, the fields wouldn't get enough of that precious dark soil. But the people didn't worry too much. They had watched this river for generations. Their grandparents had watched it. Their great-grandparents before them. The Nile had its cycle, and it kept to it year after year. Children learned to swim in this river from the time they could walk. The Nile wasn't just water for the crops. It was a playground, a place to cool off when the sun grew hot. Parents would take their little ones down to the water's edge, teaching them to move through the water, to respect it, to enjoy it. Some children learned to paddle small boats made from papyrus reeds. These were simple skills, but important ones, and they were learned with laughter, with splashing with the joy of a hot day and cool water. Imagine the sounds for a moment. Water moving over stones, gentle and constant. The soft splash of someone diving in. The call of a water bird from somewhere downstream. Reeds rustling in a light breeze. Voices of children, distant and happy. Everything moving slowly under the warm sun. Everything peaceful. Everything in its time. This was the Nile. This was the heartbeat of ancient Egypt, the river that gave them everything. And tonight, as you listen, you can almost hear that water flowing, always flowing, calm and endless, taking everything at its own pace. No rush, no hurry, just the steady, gentle rhythm of water, finding its way home to the sea. Now let's walk across the sand together, away from the river, out toward the desert where the pyramids stand. You've seen pictures maybe. You know their shapes. But tonight let's think about them differently. Not as mysteries or monuments, but as something built by human hands, slowly, carefully, stone by stone. There's something people often get wrong about the pyramids. For a long time, many thought they were built by slaves, forced to work under harsh conditions. But that's not quite true. The pyramids were built by workers, regular people who were paid for their labor. They came from villages along the Nile. They signed up for shifts, sometimes months at a time. It was hard work, yes, heavy work, but it was also steady work. It meant food for their families, shelter, a place in something larger than themselves. These workers lived in camps near the construction sites. They had homes temporary, but real. They were fed regularly. Bread, beer, onions and fish. When someone got hurt, there were people to care for them. Archaeologists have found the remains of these worker villages. They've found bakeries, large enough to feed thousands, sleeping quarters, even what looks like a medical area. These weren't slaves. These were craftsmen, laborers, people doing a job. When these workers died, they were buried near the pyramids they helped build. Their tombs have been found tucked in the shadows of the great structures. Smaller tombs, yes, simpler than the pharaoh's resting place, but tombs nonetheless. They were buried with care, with their personal belongings. A cup they drank from, tools they used, food for the journey beyond. This tells us something important. These people were respected. Their work mattered. They mattered. Think about the stones themselves for a moment. Each block weighs about 2.5 tons. That's as heavy as a small car. And the Great Pyramid of Khufu contains around 2 million 300,000 of these blocks. You don't need to imagine that number. It's too big. Just know that it's vast. Know that it took time. So much time. The workers didn't rush. They couldn't rush. They moved one stone at a time. They used wooden rollers to slide the blocks along. They poured water on the sand in front of the stones to make it firmer, easier to move across. Step by step. One stone today, another stone tomorrow, month after month, year after year. Patience built these pyramids more than anything else. Patience and time. Let your shoulders drop now. Feel them settle. There's no hurry here, just like there was no hurry then. When the Great Pyramid was first finished, it looked very different than it does today. The surface was covered in polished white limestone, smooth and bright. This limestone caught the sun and threw it back, making the pyramid gleam like a beacon across the desert. You could see it from miles away, this bright geometric mountain rising from the sand, shining, almost glowing. Over the centuries, much of that limestone was taken away. People needed stone for other buildings, other cities, so they took it from the pyramid. What we see now is the inner core, the rougher stones beneath. But imagine it as it was. Imagine standing in the desert at dawn, watching the first light hit that white surface, watching it come alive with reflected gold. It must have been breathtaking. Here's something else about these pyramids. Inside, the temperature stays remarkably steady, around 20 degrees Celsius, about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Outside, the desert can be scorching, 40 degrees in the sun. Or it can be cold at night, 10 degrees. But inside the pyramid, it barely changes. The thick stone acts as natural insulation, keeping the heat out, keeping the cool in. No technology needed, just the right material, the right design, simple wisdom built into stone. Imagine yourself there now, inside a pyramid, in one of those cool stone chambers. The air is still. There's no wind, no sound. The walls around you are solid, ancient. They've stood here for thousands of years. The darkness is complete, peaceful. You can feel the weight of the stone above you, not pressing down, just there, steady, unchanging. The temperature is perfect, not too warm, not too cool, just right for rest. You could lie down here on the smooth stone floor. It would be cool against your back. The darkness would wrap around you like a blanket, and you could sleep, really sleep, knowing that nothing will disturb you, nothing will change. The pyramid will stand, the stone will hold, and you can let go. Let yourself rest in this ancient, patient quiet. This is what the pyramids really are. Not puzzles, not mysteries, just places built by people who knew how to take their time, who understood that some things can't be rushed, who worked together stone by stone to make something that would last. And it has lasted. It's still here, still standing, still patient, still quiet. Let's leave the pyramids now. Let's walk back toward the river, back to where people lived their ordinary lives. Not pharaohs or priests, just people, families, children, the kind of people whose names we'll never know, but whose lives were full and real and worth remembering. Morning came early in ancient Egypt, not because anyone had to rush, but because the sun decided it. Light would creep through small windows, soft at first, then stronger. There were no alarm clocks, no jarring sounds to wake up to, just the slow arrival of daylight, and with it, the gentle sounds that meant morning had come. A rooster somewhere calling out, birds beginning their day chirping in the trees by the river. the soft footsteps of a neighbor starting their fire, the quiet scrape of a door opening. These were the sounds that woke people. Natural sounds, familiar sounds, the kind that ease you into waking rather than dragging you out of sleep. Breakfast was a simple affair. There was no need for it to be complicated. A piece of bread, still warm, may be made from barley flour. The bread was dense and filling. Sometimes there was honey to drip on it, golden and sweet. Sometimes a few dried figs or dates from last year's harvest. Nothing fancy, nothing that required much preparation, just enough to start the day. People ate slowly. There was time. The sun had only just come up. The heat of the day was still hours away. You could sit outside your door chewing your bread, watching the street come to life. Neighbors might nod as they passed. Children might already be running somewhere laughing. The day unfolded at its own pace. Nobody was watching a clock. There were no clocks to watch. Most people walked everywhere barefoot. Sandals existed. Yes, they were made from papyrus reeds woven together, or sometimes from leather, if you had the means for it. But they were considered a bit of a luxury, something you saved for special occasions, a festival, a visit to someone important, a wedding perhaps. For everyday life, bare feet were enough. The ground along the Nile wasn't harsh. The earth was soft from the river's moisture, warm from the sun but not burning. Walking barefoot felt natural. Your feet knew the path. They knew the texture of the dirt, the coolness of the shade under a tree. It was a way of staying connected to the land, feeling where you were with every step. Children had even less to wear than adults. Until they were about 12 or 13, many children wore nothing at all. This might sound strange now, but think about the heat. Think about how precious fabric was, how much work went into making cloth, and think about children being children, running, playing, getting dirty. In that context, it made perfect sense. They were free to move, free to play, free to be comfortable in the heat. You'd see them everywhere, down by the river, splashing in the shallows, building little structures out of mud, chasing each other through the fields where the wheat grew tall. Their laughter carried on the breeze. They made up games. They explored. They did what children have always done. They found joy in simple things. Take a breath now. Let it fill your lungs slowly, then let it go. Let your thoughts drift, like those children playing by the river. You don't need to hold on to anything. Just let it all flow. Here's something that might surprise you about ancient Egypt. Women had rights, real rights. They could own property in their own names. They could buy and sell things. They could take someone to court if they'd been wronged. They could get divorced if a marriage wasn't working. They could run businesses. These weren't just theories. These were actual practices, documented and real. In most of the ancient world, women were treated as property themselves, as extensions of their fathers or husbands. But not in Egypt. Here women were seen as people with agency, with power over their own lives. It wasn't perfect equality. No society then was, but it was remarkably progressive for its time. A woman could make decisions, could shape her own path. That meant something. The middle of the day brought heat, real heat, the kind that makes you want to stop moving. And so people did. After a midday meal, often just more bread and maybe some vegetables, many people would retreat indoors or find shade somewhere. This was the time for a rest. The houses were built to stay cool. Thick walls, small windows. The air inside was several degrees cooler than outside. You could lie down on a mat, close your eyes, let the heat of the day pass over you while you drifted. This wasn't laziness. This was wisdom. This was understanding that you work with the day, not against it. A short sleep, maybe just half an hour, maybe longer. There was no rule. Just rest until you felt ready. Someone might bring you water, cool from a clay jar that had been sitting in the shade. You'd drink it slowly, feel it cool your throat. And when you were ready, when the sun had moved past its highest point and the air had cooled just slightly, you'd get up. You'd return to whatever work needed doing. This was the rhythm of daily life. Wake with the sun, eat simply, move through the day at a natural pace, rest when it was hot, resume when it cooled, eat again in the evening, talk with family and neighbors, then sleep when darkness came. Nothing complicated, nothing rushed, just life moving at the speed of the sun and the seasons. Just people living in harmony with the world around them. Just the quiet contentment of days that didn't demand more than they gave food in ancient Egypt was simple. Not simple because people didn't care about it. Simple because they knew what mattered. Flavors that were honest. Ingredients that came from the earth and the river. Meals that brought people together. Let's sit down at their table for a while. Let's taste what they tasted. Bread was everything. It was the center of every meal, the foundation. Most families made bread fresh every day. You'd wake to the smell of it sometimes, that warm yeasty scent drifting through the morning air. Women would take barley flour and mix it with water. Their hands would work the dough, kneading it until it was smooth. Then they'd shape it into rounds or ovals and set it on hot stones to bake. The bread was dense and filling. It had a slightly nutty taste from the barley. Sometimes bits of the grinding stones would get mixed in, making the bread a little gritty. But nobody minded. This was bread. This was life. You'd tear off a piece while it was still warm, and it would be perfect. Just bread. Just enough. Beer was another staple, but not the beer you might imagine. This was thick, almost like a liquid bread, which makes sense, because it was made from the same grains, barley mostly. It had a sweet taste, heavy and nourishing. Everyone drank it, men, women, even children, though theirs was probably weaker. It was safer than drinking straight from the river. The fermentation made it clean. People would drink their beer through reed straws. The beer was too thick to pour smoothly, and it had a sediment at the bottom you didn't want. So you'd sit with your clay cup and your straw taking slow sips. Often this happened in the evening. After work, people would gather in small groups, neighbors, friends, family, sitting together, drinking, talking about the day, sharing stories. The beer loosened tongues, made people laugh, made the evening gentler. Honey was precious. It was the only way to make things sweet. Sugar didn't exist for them yet, so honey was like gold. Liquid gold, really. People used it on bread, in drinks, even in medicine. It was healing, soothing, sweet in a way that felt like a gift. Getting honey meant finding wild bees. Honey hunters would go out looking for hives. When they found one, they'd light a small fire nearby. The smoke would calm, the bees make them slow and drowsy. Then carefully, so carefully, they'd take the honeycomb. Just enough, never all of it. They respected the bees, knew they needed to leave some for the hive to survive. It was a conversation in a way, a negotiation between humans and insects, both giving, both taking, both surviving. Vegetables filled most plates. Onions were everywhere, sharp and pungent when raw, sweet when cooked. Garlic too. Lettuce grew easily in the rich soil. Cucumbers stayed cool and crisp even in the heat. Leeks, radishes, all of these came from gardens along the Nile. Simple to grow, simple to prepare. Slice them, eat them raw, or boil them until soft. Meat was rare. It was expensive. It required raising animals, which required resources. So most people only ate meat during festivals, special occasions, times of celebration. The taste of roasted duck or goat would be something to remember, something to savor. The rest of the time, protein came from the river. Fish were plentiful, easy to catch. You could grill them over a fire or dry them in the sun to preserve them. Now relax your jaw. Let it hang loose. Your teeth don't need to touch. Let all the muscles in your face soften. There's nothing to chew, nothing to bite, just rest. Dates were special. These sweet fruits came from far away, from palm groves and other lands. They were imported, traded. Each date was a little treasure, chewy and intensely sweet. They could last for months without spoiling. People would save them, bring them out for guests, or pack them for long journeys. When someone died, dates were often placed in their tomb, food for the afterlife. This tells you how much they were valued. You don't give someone ordinary food for eternity. You give them something precious, something that says, you mattered, you were loved. Take this sweetness with you. Food was never just food in ancient Egypt. It was connection. It was community. It was the taste of home and the promise that tomorrow there would be enough again. Simple flavors, simple comfort, simple and complete. Beauty mattered in ancient Egypt, not in a vain way, not in a way that caused stress or competition. It was simply part of being human, part of respecting yourself and others. Taking care of how you looked was taking care of who you were. Let's explore this together slowly and gently. Both men and women lined their eyes with kohl. This wasn't unusual or strange. It was as normal as washing your face. Everyone did it. Children learned how from watching their parents. The kohl was a black powder made by grinding up charcoal or certain minerals until they became as fine as dust. You'd mix it with a tiny bit of water or oil to make a paste. Then using a small stick or your fingertip, you'd carefully draw a line along your eyelids. The line would extend slightly past the corner of your eye, making the eye look longer, more almond-shaped. It was beautiful, yes, but it was also practical. The black kohl helped reduce the glare from the intense sun. It protected the delicate skin around the eyes, and it seems to have had some properties that prevented infections. Beauty and function working together. Imagine sitting in the morning light, someone you love carefully drawing that line on your eyelid. The gentle touch, the closeness, the quiet intimacy of helping each other look their best before facing the day. It was a ritual, a moment of care. Perfume was another daily gift. The Egyptians loved fragrance. They knew how to capture the smell of flowers and keep it. Lotus blossoms from the Nile, jasmine that grew in gardens, various herbs and resins. They would take these flowers and submerge them in oil, not quickly, not roughly. They would let them sit together for days, sometimes weeks. Slowly, gently, the fragrance would seep into the oil. The oil would become the flower. The flower would become wearable. At parties and special gatherings, People would wear scented cones on their heads. These were made of animal fat mixed with fragrant oils, then shaped into small cones. As the evening went on, as your body warmed from dancing and conversation, the cone would slowly melt. The perfume would trickle down over your wig, over your shoulders. You would carry the scent with you, moving through the room like a gentle breeze carrying flower petals. Cleanliness was important, not obsessive, not anxious, just a natural part of respecting yourself and others. People bathed regularly. Those who lived near the river might wade in for a wash in the morning or evening. Others would use water from large clay jars, pouring it over themselves. In a courtyard or private area, they made a kind of soap from plant ash mixed with oil. The ash contained alkali, which cuts through dirt and oil on skin. It wasn't pleasant smelling. Actually, it had a rather sharp, bitter scent. But it worked. It left skin feeling clean and fresh. And that mattered more than smelling like roses. Function first, then beauty. Let your eyelids grow heavy now. Feel them wanting to close. That's good. Let them rest if they want to. There's no need to keep them open. Hair was an interesting matter in ancient Egypt. The heat made having a full head of hair uncomfortable, and hair could harbor lice and other problems. So many people, both men and women, simply shaved their heads completely. Clean, cool, simple. But when they went out, when they wanted to look formal or beautiful, they would wear wigs. Wigs were made from human hair, carefully collected and preserved, or sometimes from plant fibers, woven to look like hair. The wealthy had elaborate wigs, multiple braids, intricate patterns. Some were decorated with beads of gold or colored stones. These wigs were works of art, but even simple people might have a basic wig for special occasions, something to mark the day, as different from ordinary. Think about the practicality of this. Your natural head stays cool and clean, but you can still have the beauty and formality of styled hair when you want it. You can take it off at night, store it carefully, put it back on tomorrow. No bad hair days, no struggling with tangles in the heat, just a simple, elegant solution to a daily challenge. There was something democratic about beauty in ancient Egypt. It wasn't locked away for the wealthy alone. Yes, rich people had fancier versions of things. Their kohl came in prettier containers. Their wigs were more elaborate. Their perfumes were more expensive. But the basic practices were available to everyone. A farmer could line his eyes before work. A servant could wear a simple wig on her day off. A child could smell the lotus oil her mother saved for special days. Beauty was a gift you gave yourself, a way of saying, I matter, my appearance matters, not because I'm trying to impress anyone, but because taking care of myself is a form of self-respect, a form of dignity. It was gentle, it was daily, it was for everyone, and it made the world a little more pleasant to live in. People in ancient Egypt didn't live alone. They shared their world with animals, not just livestock or work animals, but companions, creatures that became part of the family, part of the home. Let's meet some of these quiet friends who made life richer and softer. Cats were special, more than special really. They were beloved, revered. If you had a cat in your home, you were considered fortunate, blessed even. This wasn't superstition without reason. Cats did important work. They kept the grain stores safe from mice and rats. In a world where your harvest was everything, where stored grain meant survival, through the dry season A good mouser was worth their weight in gold. But it was more than practicality. Cats have a way about them, don't they? That quiet dignity, the way they move, the way they choose when to give affection. Egyptians saw something almost divine in cats, something worth honoring. When a family cat died, the household would go into mourning. People would shave their eyebrows as a sign of grief. The cat would be mummified, carefully wrapped in linen, sometimes placed in a beautiful bronze case, then buried with ceremony, with respect, because this wasn't just a pet, this was family. Dogs were loved too, though in a different way. Dogs were partners, helpers, friends who worked alongside you. They helped with hunting tracking game across the desert. They guarded homes barking when strangers approached. They walked beside you on long journeys. That kind of companionship creates deep bonds. The Egyptians understood this. People gave their dogs names that meant something. Names like Brave One, Swift Runner, Good Friend. These weren't random. They were descriptions, promises, hopes for who this dog would be. And often, the dogs lived up to their names. When tomb paintings were made for the wealthy, sometimes the family dog was included, right there with the people, because they belonged there. They were part of the story too. The relationship with crocodiles was more complicated. These creatures lived in the Nile, those same waters that gave life to everything. Powerful animals, ancient, dangerous. You had to respect them, fear them even. They could overturn a small boat, could take a person in an instant. So people were cautious near the water, watchful, teaching their children to be aware. But fear and reverence can exist together. There was a god named Sobek who had the head of a crocodile. Temples were built in his honor. In some of these temples lived crocodiles, were kept in sacred pools, fed, adorned with gold jewelry, treated like living gods. It seems strange, maybe, to fear something and worship it at the same time. But perhaps that's exactly why it made sense. You honor what has power over you. You try to make peace with it. Hippos were another creature of contradictions. Dangerous, certainly. They were territorial and unpredictable. They could charge at boats, could be aggressive if they felt threatened. Hunting hippos was considered a noble pursuit, something brave men did to prove their courage, to protect the community from a real threat. But there was also Taweret, a goddess with the body of a hippo. She was protective, not threatening. She watched over pregnant women, over children being born, over babies in their first fragile days. The same animal that could be dangerous in the river could be a symbol of protection in the home. Let your eyes rest now. If they're open, it's okay to close them. If they're already closed, let them stay that way. Just rest them. There's nothing you need to see right now. Birds were everywhere in ancient Egypt, in the marshes, along the river, in the sky, and people watched them, learned from them. Birds became symbols of the soul of that part of us that's light and free. When someone died, the Egyptians believed a part of their soul could take the form of a bird, could fly, could move freely between this world and the next. It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? That in death we might become as free as a bird in flight. But birds were also just birds, creatures to live with, to enjoy. Families kept them as pets. Ducks waddling around the courtyard, geese honking in the morning. Some people kept songbirds for their voices. Imagine waking to a bird singing near your window, that soft musical sound easing you into the day. or coming home in the evening to hear that same song. A small joy, a small comfort. But these small things matter. They make a house feel like a home. Animals gave the Egyptians so much: work, protection, companionship, beauty, a sense of connection to something beyond themselves. They weren't separate from the animal world, they were part of it, living alongside creatures great and small, learning from them, honoring them, sometimes fearing them, always respecting them. It was a relationship of balance, of give and take, of shared life on the banks of that eternal river. Let's think about the children for a while, the smallest voices in ancient Egypt, the ones who played in the dust by the river, who laughed and ran and made up games. Childhood then wasn't so different from childhood now. Children found joy in simple things, in each other, in the world around them. Let's watch them play. Little girls had dolls. Some were carved from wood, smooth and simple. Others were made from scraps of cloth, stuffed with dried grass or rags. The fancier dolls had real human hair attached, tiny strands carefully glued or sewn on. Some even had little clothes made from leftover fabric, a tiny dress, a small belt. These dolls were treasured, carried everywhere, slept with at night. Girls would practice caring for these dolls the way they saw their mothers care for babies, rocking them, talking to them softly, making little beds for them out of baskets. It was practice, yes, learning to be nurturing, learning to be gentle, but it was also just play, just the universal joy of having something small to love, something that was yours alone to care for. Boys and girls both played with balls. These weren't like the balls we have now. They were made by taking scraps of linen or papyrus and wrapping them tightly over and over until they formed a sphere. Sometimes they stuffed them with straw to make them lighter. The balls were lumpy, imperfect, but perfect for playing. Children would toss them back and forth, see who could throw the highest, invent games with rules that changed as they played. There was a board game called Senet. Adults loved it. Children loved it. Everyone played. The board was rectangular with 30 squares arranged in 3 rows of 10. You had pieces, usually small carved shapes, and you had throwing sticks that worked like dice. You'd throw the sticks, see how they landed, and move your pieces accordingly. The goal was to get all your pieces off the board before your opponent did. But Senet was more than just a game. It had meaning woven into it. The board represented the journey of the soul through the afterlife. Each square was a different challenge or blessing. Playing Senet was a way of thinking about that journey, about what comes after. But for children, it was mostly just fun, the excitement of your turn, the hope that the sticks would land in your favor, the friendly competition with a sibling or friend. Some games needed nothing at all, except space and energy. Jump rope, though they used vines or twisted papyrus instead of the ropes we'd recognize. 2 children would hold the ends, while another jumped, counting, chanting, seeing how long you could keep going before you tripped. The rhythm of it, the satisfaction of a long turn without missing. Hide and seek worked the same way it always has. One person counts, the others scatter. You find a spot behind a wall or a tree or a large pottery jar. You wait, trying not to giggle, trying to stay still, and when you're found, the mixture of disappointment and relief, and then you play again and again until it's time to go home. Let your breathing slow now, in and out, easy and natural. like waves on a shore, like the breath of sleeping children after a long day of play. The best entertainment, though, might have been storytelling. In the evenings when the work was done and the air had cooled, families would gather. Grandparents would tell stories they'd heard when they were young about gods and goddesses, about heroes who fought monsters, about clever people who outsmarted those more powerful than themselves, about love and loss and adventure and home. These stories weren't written down for most people. They lived in memory, in voices. Each person who told them added something, changed something, made them their own. A grandmother might emphasize different parts than her mother had. A father might add details he thought his children would enjoy. The stories grew, evolved, stayed alive through being shared. Children would sit close listening, their eyes wide in the firelight, or maybe their eyes already half closed, drifting as the voice continued, the words becoming dreams, the characters walking through their sleep. They'd fall asleep to these stories, wake up the next morning and play them out, pretend to be the hero, imagine themselves on great adventures, then come home tired and dirty and happy. Childhood in ancient Egypt was simple, not easy always. Life was never easy, but simple in its joys. A doll to hold, a ball to throw, a game to play with friends, a story to hear before sleep. These same things that make children happy now made them happy then. The longing to play, to imagine, to be with others, to feel safe and loved. These don't change. They're written into what it means to be young, what it means to be human. And in ancient Egypt, just like now, children found their happiness in these timeless, gentle pleasures. Now let's listen, not with our ears exactly, but with our imagination. Let's hear the music of ancient Egypt, the sounds that filled their evenings, that accompanied their work, that made their celebrations feel complete. Music was everywhere, soft, present, like a friend who knows when to speak and when to simply be near. The harp was the instrument you'd hear most often, not the grand harps of concert halls. These were smaller, more intimate. You'd sit on the floor with the harp resting against your body. Your fingers would pluck the strings one by one, each note clear and sweet. The sound of a harp has a quality that's hard to describe. It's bright but not sharp, melodic but not insistent. It fills a space without dominating it. People played harps at parties and gatherings. Someone would sit in the corner, fingers moving across the strings, creating a backdrop for conversation. Or they'd play alone in the evening, just for themselves. After a long day, when the house was quiet, when music was the only companion needed. The melodies were simple, repetitive, the kind that settle into your bones, that you find yourself humming without realizing it. Flutes were common too, made from reeds that grew along the riverbank, cut, dried, holes carved in just the right places. A shepherd boy watching his flock might pull out his flute and play. The notes would drift across the fields, carried on the breeze. Other shepherds might hear it from far away, might know who was playing just by the melody, by the particular way that person breathed into the reed. The sound of a reed flute is breathy and warm. It has an earthiness to it, like wind moving through grass, like the sigh of someone content. The melodies were often slow, meandering. They didn't rush to get anywhere. They simply existed, filled the air, kept the shepherd company through long quiet hours. Drums and rattles provided rhythm. In festivals and celebrations, you'd hear them clearly: the deep thump of a drum, the shaking chatter of a rattle. These weren't chaotic sounds. They didn't jar or startle. The rhythms were steady, predictable, like a heartbeat, like footsteps. You could move to them, sway, dance if you wanted, or just let them wash over you. Let them organize the moment into something cohesive. Singing was perhaps the most common music of all. People sang while they worked, a steady rhythm to match the motion of their tasks, grinding grain into flour, pulling nets full of fish from the water, harvesting wheat under the hot sun. The songs helped, made the work feel lighter somehow, gave everyone a shared tempo. You'd all move together, all breathe together, the song connecting you even when you weren't speaking. These work songs weren't written down. No one composed them formally. They grew organically. Someone would start a melody, others would join. The words would be about the work itself, or about nothing in particular, just sounds that felt good in the mouth, that matched the rhythm of the labor. These songs passed from parents to children, each generation learning them by doing, by singing along until the song was as familiar as breathing. Let your feet relax now, your toes, your ankles, all the small bones and muscles. They don't need to do anything, just rest, just be still and soft. Evenings were special for music. When the work was done and the meal was finished, when the heat had faded and the air was comfortable, families would sit together, maybe outside under the stars, maybe inside by the dim light of an oil lamp. Someone might play an instrument, might sing softly. Others would listen, really listen, not as background noise, but as the main event, the thing you gave your attention to. Sometimes no one played at all. Someone would tell a story instead, or people would just talk, share the events of their day, make plans for tomorrow, laugh about something small. The point wasn't the activity exactly. The point was being together, being present with each other. No screens to look at, no phones demanding attention, just faces, just voices, just the simple pleasure of company. This kind of evening has a particular quality. Time moves differently. An hour can feel both long and short. You're aware of the moment, of being exactly where you are, with exactly who you're with. The music, when it's there, enhances this, makes the moment feel held, protected. The melody creates a small world, a bubble of sound and warmth, and everyone inside that bubble is connected, is part of something together. Music in ancient Egypt wasn't performance. It wasn't about being impressive or technically perfect. It was about being human, about making something beautiful with what you had: a few strings, a hollow reed, your own voice. These simple tools could create something that touched the soul, that made hard days bearable, that turned ordinary evenings into memories. That's the power of music, not in its complexity, but in its presence, in its willingness to simply exist alongside us, to accompany us through this brief, precious life. Every person in ancient Egypt had work to do, not just to survive, though survival mattered, but to contribute, to add something to the world, to leave their mark. Let's visit some of these workers. Let's watch their hands move. Let's understand what they gave to their community through their craft. The potter sat at his wheel, a simple wooden disc that spun when he pushed it with his foot. On top of the wheel, a lump of clay, wet, soft, formless. He'd center it, first pressing down with both hands until the clay stopped wobbling, until it spun true. Then slowly Carefully, he'd push his thumbs into the center. The clay would open, a bowl would begin to form, or a jar, or a cup, whatever was needed. His hands knew what to do. They'd done this thousands of times, but each piece was unique. The wall might be slightly thicker here. The rim might curve just a bit differently there. These weren't flaws. These were signatures. Proof that a human being made this. That it came from someone's hands, someone's attention, someone's skill. When you held a clay cup in ancient Egypt, you were holding someone's work, someone's small gift to the world. Weavers worked with linen. The flax plant grew beautifully in Egyptian soil. After harvest, the stems were soaked until the fibers could be separated, then beaten, combed, spun into thread. This thread went to the weavers, usually women sitting at their looms. The loom was a frame with threads stretched tight from top to bottom. The weaver would pass another thread back and forth, over and under, over and under, building fabric one row at a time. It was rhythmic work, meditative almost. The shuttle passing through, the thread pulling tight. Your hands knew the motion so well, you didn't have to think. You could talk with the woman working next to you, could sing, could let your mind wander, but your hands kept working, kept creating cloth that would become clothing, bandages, sheets, sails for boats. All the fabric needs of a civilization, made by hands, passing thread through thread, patient, steady, tireless. Jewelers worked with precious metals, gold mostly mined from the eastern desert. They'd melt it down in small crucibles over hot fires, pour it into molds, or hammer it into thin sheets. Then came the delicate work, shaping, twisting, attaching small pieces to each other with such precision that you could barely see the joins. They made necklaces with hundreds of tiny beads, bracelets that curved perfectly around a wrist, rings that fit just so, earrings that caught the light. This work required patience, incredible patience. A single piece might take days or weeks to complete. You couldn't rush. If you rushed, you'd make mistakes. The metal wouldn't sit right. The design would be off. So jewelers learned to slow down, to work at the pace the metal demanded, to trust that taking time was how you made something truly beautiful, something that would last, something someone might treasure for a lifetime. Scribes held a different kind of power, the power of literacy. In a world where most people couldn't read or write, scribes were invaluable. They learned the complex system of hieroglyphs, hundreds of symbols, each one representing a sound or a concept. They practiced on broken pottery shards before they were allowed to use precious papyrus, copying texts over and over until the characters were perfect, until they could write quickly but clearly. A scribe's day might involve recording grain deliveries at a warehouse, copying religious texts in a temple, writing letters for people who couldn't write themselves, keeping track of taxes, recording the words of officials and pharaohs. Everything important was written down, and scribes were the ones who did it. They preserved knowledge, preserved history, made sure information could travel across distances and through time. Their work connected past, present, and future. Take a slow breath now. Let your whole body sink a little deeper, every muscle a bit softer. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. Just rest here with these ancient workers. But the true backbone of Egyptian society was the farmers, the ones who worked the fields day after day. season after season, year after year. They woke with the sun, walked to their plots of land, worked until the sun began to set. In the planting season, they pressed seeds into the soft, dark earth left by the flood. In the growing season, they watered, weeded, watched over the crops, scared away birds that wanted to steal grain. And in the harvest season, they cut, bundled, carried, their backs bent, their hands rough, their faces weathered by sun and wind. Farming is hard work, physical work, work that never quite ends because there's always another season coming, always another crop to plant. But farmers didn't complain. Not really. This was life. This was what kept everyone fed. The bread you ate came from grain they grew. The beer you drank came from barley they harvested. Without farmers, there would be nothing. No food, no civilization, no Egypt. They knew this. They knew their importance. And in that knowing, there was dignity, pride even. The land gave to them. They gave to the land. And together, they fed a nation. It was simple. It was profound. It was the rhythm that kept everything else possible. Every profession had its worth. Every worker had value. The potter giving shape to clay. The weaver creating cloth. The jeweler crafting beauty. The scribe preserving knowledge. The farmer feeding everyone. Each person contributing their skills, their time, their care, building together a society that would endure for thousands of years, not through grand gestures, but through daily work, through showing up, through doing what needed doing, through the steady, faithful labor of human hands. The day is ending now. The sun has set. The sky has turned from gold to deep blue to something darker. The stars are beginning to appear one by one, and it's time to rest. Time to let go of the day. Time to sleep. Let's go there together, to that quiet moment when ancient Egypt closed its eyes. The bed was simple, a wooden frame, 4 legs lifting it off the ground, away from any creatures that might crawl at night. The surface wasn't solid wood. It was woven, strips of leather or thick cord stretched across the frame, crisscrossing, creating a surface that gave slightly when you lay down, that held your weight but yielded to it, like a gentle hand supporting you. This wasn't soft like the mattresses we know, but it wasn't uncomfortable either. The slight give of the woven surface let your body settle. Let your spine find its natural curve. And once you were still, once you stopped moving, it felt right. It felt like exactly what you needed. Now here's something that might surprise you. The pillow wasn't soft either. It was wood, or sometimes stone, carved into a curved shape, a block with a gentle dip in the middle where your neck would rest. Your head would lie to one side, your cheek against your hand perhaps, and your neck would settle into that curve. It sounds hard, uncomfortable, but remember, many people had shaved heads, or they wore wigs during the day that they wanted to protect at night. A soft pillow would flatten an elaborate wig, would ruin the careful styling, but a hard pillow, a carved rest that kept everything in place. Your wig sat safely nearby. Your head rested just so. And after a while, after many nights, your body learned. It knew this position. It relaxed into it. Let your neck relax now. Let your head sink into whatever is beneath it. Trust that it will hold you. You don't need to lift anything. Don't need to support anything. Just let go. In summer, when the heat of the day lingered into the night, many people didn't sleep inside at all. They climbed to the roof, the flat roof of their home. They'd bring a mat, perhaps a light sheet, and they'd lie there under the open sky. The air was cooler up high. Any breeze that moved would find you there, would brush across your skin, gentle, welcome, like a soft touch, saying rest now, sleep now. Imagine lying on that roof, the day's heat still rising from the stone beneath you, but fading now, fading as the night deepens. Above you the sky, so many stars, more than you've ever seen in your life. No city lights to hide them, no glow on the horizon, just stars, thousands of them, millions of them, ancient light reaching you across impossible distances. You'd hear things from up there, the distant call of a night bird, the rustle of palm fronds in the wind, maybe voices from another roof far away, someone saying goodnight, someone laughing softly. The sounds were small and far and comforting. They told you that you weren't alone, that other people were settling into sleep too, that the world was at peace. The Egyptians believed in dreams, really believed in them. Dreams weren't just random images from a sleeping mind. They were messages, communications from somewhere beyond, from God's perhaps, from the part of you that knows things your waking self doesn't. Dreams mattered. They meant something. There were books about dreams, collections of symbols and their meanings. If you dreamed of a cat, that was good. Cats were sacred, protective. A cat in your dream meant safety, blessing. If you dreamed of water of the Nile, flowing clean and strong, that meant abundance was coming, life was coming, good things. But if you dreamed of a crocodile that required attention, the dream might be warning you, telling you to be careful, to watch your step, to stay alert. Dreams of crocodiles weren't necessarily bad, just serious, just important. Priests sometimes served as dream interpreters. If you had a dream that troubled you, or a dream that felt particularly vivid and strange, you might go to a priest. Tell them what you saw, what you felt. They would listen carefully, consider, then offer their interpretation, their wisdom. It was another form of care, another way the community looked after its members. Before sleep came, there were prayers, short ones, simple ones, just a few words spoken into the darkness, asking the gods for protection through the night, asking them to watch over the family, over the home, over the fields, waiting for tomorrow's work. These prayers weren't complicated. They didn't need to be. Just honest words, quiet words. Keep us safe. Keep us well. Let us wake to another day. That was enough. The gods didn't need elaborate speeches. They needed sincerity. And in the darkness in that moment, between waking and sleeping, sincerity was easy, natural, true. Let your breathing become even slower now. So slow you barely notice it. In and out. Gentle as a whisper. Gentle as the wind on that rooftop under the stars. Mothers sang to their children at bedtime. Soft lullabies passed down through generations. Songs about the river, about the sun going to rest and promising to return tomorrow. About safety and warmth and love. The melodies were simple, repetitive. The same few notes over and over. The same gentle rhythm. A mother's voice in the darkness. Not loud. Just there. Just present. The child would listen. Eyes already closed. Body already still. The song would continue. The voice would soften even more. Become almost a hum. And the child would drift. Would slip from listening to dreaming without ever noticing the moment of transition. This is how sleep came in ancient Egypt. Naturally, peacefully, without force or anxiety. The day ended because it was time for it to end. The body rested because Rest was needed, and tomorrow would come because tomorrow always came. There was no fighting it, no resisting it, just acceptance, just trust, just the gentle surrender to sleep. Your eyes are so heavy now. If they're still open, that's fine, but they want to close. You can feel it, that pull, that weight. It's okay to let them close. It's okay to stop reading, stop listening, stop doing anything at all. The Egyptians are sleeping now, on their woven beds, on their rooftops, under their stars. Their prayers have been said, their children are dreaming, and you can join them. You can let this day go, let everything go, and sleep. Just sleep, deep and dreamless, or full of dreams that mean something. Either way, just sleep. The river is flowing, the stars are watching, and everything is exactly as it should be. Rest now, sleep now, let go. The gods were everywhere in ancient Egypt, not distant, not unreachable. They were woven into daily life, into morning greetings and evening prayers, into the way people understood the world. Let's meet them now, gently, quietly. These aren't dramatic tales. These are just introductions, like meeting old friends who've been waiting patiently to say hello. Ra was the sun, or perhaps it's better to say, the sun was Ra. Every morning, he began his journey, sailing across the sky in his golden boat. You couldn't see the boat, of course, but you could see his light, feel his warmth spreading across the land, touching the river, touching the fields, touching your face as you stepped outside. The Egyptians would greet him, not with grand ceremonies, just a moment of acknowledgement, a hand raised to shade the eyes, a quiet word of thanks. Thank you for returning. Thank you for the light. Thank you for another day. It was that simple, that personal. As evening came, Ra's boat would sail down below the horizon, into the underworld. He would travel through the darkness, through the realm of night, and every single morning, he would emerge again, victorious, faithful. The sun always returned. That was the promise. That was the comfort. No matter how dark the night morning would come, let your chest rise and fall now, slow and steady, like the journey of the sun, predictable, eternal, nothing to worry about. Isis was different, softer. She was the mother, the protector, the one who understood what it meant to love so deeply it hurt. Women would whisper her name when they were afraid, when they were carrying a child and didn't know if everything would be all right, when they were in labor and needed strength. Isis, help me. Isis, protect us. Isis, be near. In paintings and statues, Isis is shown holding her son, Horus, her arms wrapped around him, her face turned toward his. The expression is one of absolute tenderness, absolute devotion. This wasn't just a goddess. This was every mother who ever held her child and promised to keep them safe. Every mother who ever sang a lullaby in the dark. Every mother who ever stayed awake, watching over a sleeping baby. People found comfort in Isis, in knowing that someone divine understood the fears and hopes that come with loving someone, that protection and care existed not just on earth, but in the realm of the gods too. She watched over families, over homes, over the tender, vulnerable moments of life. Now we come to Anubis. He has the head of a jackal, black as night. Many people assume he's frightening. A god of death must be scary, right? But that's not quite right. Anubis wasn't something to fear. He was something to trust. When someone died, their soul needed guidance, needed someone to show them the way through the confusing landscape, of the afterlife. Anubis was that guide, patient, knowledgeable, kind even. He would lead the soul to the hall of judgment. There he would take their heart and place it on a scale. On the other side of the scale, a feather, light as air, light as truth. If the heart was heavy with cruelty, with lies, with harm done to others, it would sink. But if the heart was light, if it matched the weight of the feather, the soul could pass on, could enter paradise. Anubis didn't judge. He simply measured, simply revealed what was already true. There was something reassuring about that, about having a guide who knew the way, who would walk beside you even in death. Thoth comes next. He has the head of an ibis, a long-beaked bird, elegant and observant. Thoth was the god of wisdom, of knowledge, of writing. Scribes loved him. Priests honored him. Anyone who worked with words felt a special connection to Thoth. The Egyptians believed Thoth invented writing, that he gave this gift to humanity, the ability to capture thoughts, to preserve knowledge across time and distance. Because of Thoth, what one person learned could be shared with another. What one generation discovered could be passed to the next. Writing was magic in a way, and Thoth was its gentle guardian. Imagine Thoth in a quiet library, scrolls everywhere, the scratch of reed on papyrus, the concentration of someone copying an important text. Thoth would be there, not interfering, not demanding, just present, watching over the work, pleased that knowledge was being honored, preserved, shared. Let your fingers relax now. Your hands, your wrists. They don't need to hold anything. Don't need to write or grasp. Just rest. Just be soft and still. Finally, there's Bastet, the cat goddess. She's exactly what you'd imagine and hope for. Sometimes shown as a cat, sleek and elegant, green eyes watching everything. Sometimes shown as a woman, with a cat's head, graceful, mysterious, beautiful. Bastet represented joy, music, dance, celebration, but also protection, especially protection of the home, of the family. She was the goddess you'd want nearby during the good times, during festivals when people gathered to sing and laugh and forget their worries for a while, but also during quiet evenings, during ordinary days, when the home needed to feel safe and warm. People kept small statues of Bastet in their homes, just a few inches tall, made of bronze or clay. These statues weren't fancy, but they were loved, sometimes worn smooth from being touched, from being held. A small prayer here, a quiet thank you there. Bastet, keep my children safe. Bastet, let there be joy in this house. Bastet, watch over us. The gods weren't demanding. They didn't require constant attention or elaborate rituals. Not for ordinary people going about their lives. They were simply there, present, available, like distant relatives who cared about you but didn't interfere unless you called. You could go days without thinking about them. Then suddenly, you'd feel grateful. You'd whisper a name, send a thought their way, and somehow that felt like enough, like they heard, like they understood. This is how the Egyptians lived with their gods, not in fear, not in overwhelming piety, just in quiet acknowledgement, in small moments of connection, in the comfort of knowing that the forces that shaped the world, the sun and the moon and life and death and wisdom and joy, all of these had names, had faces, had stories, and those stories were gentle, were human, were easy to carry in your heart as you moved through your days. The gods are resting now too. Ra has completed his journey. Isis is watching over sleeping children. Anubis is guiding souls with patience. Thoth is among his books. Bastet is curled up somewhere warm. And you can rest too. You can let these stories fade. Let them become part of your dreams. Let them keep you company as you drift deeper into sleep. They're not going anywhere. They'll be here tomorrow. Patient, eternal, kind. There's something beautiful about writing, about taking a thought invisible and fleeting and making it visible, making it permanent. The Egyptians understood this. They honored it. Let's sit with them for a while, in the quiet places where words were made, where knowledge was preserved, where stories found their way onto papyrus and became immortal. Papyrus grew along the Nile, tall green stalks rising from the water's edge, swaying gently in the breeze. These plants were everywhere, common, but what could be made from them was extraordinary. Someone long ago discovered that inside these stalks was something precious, the material for capturing words. The process was simple, but required patience. First, you cut the stalk. Take it while it was still fresh and green. Then carefully slice it into thin strips, long ribbons of pale plant fiber. These strips would be laid out side by side, a row of them, all parallel, all touching. Then another layer on top, but this time running the opposite direction, perpendicular, creating a crosshatch pattern. Now came the gentle part. You'd take a smooth stone or a wooden roller. You'd press down, not hard, not violent, just steady, even pressure. The strips would begin to merge. The natural moisture inside the plant, the sap acted like glue. Slowly, the two layers would become one, would bond together into a single sheet, smooth, sturdy, ready to receive words. This papyrus was precious. It took time to make, took skill. So, it wasn't wasted. Before a scribe could write on papyrus, they practiced for years on other surfaces. Broken pottery, flat pieces of limestone. These were free, plentiful. You could write on them, wash them off, write again. Learn your craft without fear of ruining something valuable. The ink was made from charcoal, ground into the finest powder, mixed with gum from acacia trees. The gum made it sticky, made it cling to the papyrus without running or smearing. Most ink was black, deep black, the color of authority, of permanence. But sometimes scribes used red for headings, for important names, for the beginning of a new section. The red stood out, caught the eye, said, "Pay attention here. This matters. Let your jaw relax now, your tongue resting soft in your mouth, your lips barely touching. There's nothing you need to say, nothing you need to articulate. Just rest." A scribe's pen was a reed, cut at an angle to create a point. When dipped in ink, the hollow center of the reed would hold just enough for several strokes. The scribe would write carefully, each hieroglyph formed with precision. A bird, a hand, a basket, a snake, each symbol representing a sound or an idea. Hundreds of these symbols existed. A scribe had to know them all, had to know them so well they could write without thinking. The way you know your own name. Learning to be a scribe started young, around 6 or 7 years old. A boy, usually a boy, would begin his training. He'd sit with his teacher, watch, copy, practice. The same symbol over and over. A sitting man. Draw it 100 times, 1,000 times, until your hand knows the curves and lines, until you could draw it in your sleep. There were no shortcuts, no easier way. Just repetition, just patience, just showing up day after day with your practice stone and your ink and your determination to get it right. And slowly, over months and years, you'd improve. Your symbols would become cleaner, more confident, more beautiful, and eventually you'd be allowed to touch papyrus, to write something that would last. Temples had libraries, rooms set aside just for scrolls, for knowledge. These rooms were kept dark, small windows, high up, just enough light to read by, because sunlight would damage the papyrus, would make it brittle and yellow, would erase the ink over time. So, the knowledge lived in shadow, in cool, quiet darkness, protected, preserved. Inside these libraries, scrolls were carefully organized. Medical texts here, astronomical observations there, mathematical calculations, religious hymns, stories. Everything humanity had learned was written down, was kept safe. A scribe could come here, could unroll a scroll from 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and read the words someone else had written, could learn from someone who'd been dead for generations. That's the magic of writing. It conquers time. It carries voices forward. Take a deep breath now. Feel it fill your lungs completely, then let it go, slow and steady, like time unwinding, like a scroll unrolling to reveal its secrets. Not everything written was serious. There were stories, beautiful stories, tales of adventure and romance and tragedy and triumph. These would be read aloud in gatherings. Someone would unroll the scroll, would begin to read, their voice rising and falling with the narrative. And people would listen, really listen, forgetting where they were, forgetting the room around them, lost in the story. In another world, another time, there was a famous story about a shipwrecked sailor. He washed up on a magical island, met a serpent who could talk. The serpent told him stories, gave him advice, promised he'd be rescued. And he was. He went home carrying treasures and wisdom. People loved this story, would ask to hear it again and again, would close their eyes and imagine themselves on that island, talking with that wise serpent, learning what the sailor learned. Stories did that. They transported you, made you forget your own troubles for a while, made you part of something larger, someone else's journey, someone else's struggle, someone else's triumph. And when the story ended, when you came back to yourself, you felt changed somehow, enriched, like you'd traveled without moving, like you'd lived another life for just a moment. The scribes who wrote these stories down were preserving more than words. They were preserving the human experience, the need to tell, the need to listen, the need to share what we've learned and felt and dreamed. Every stroke of ink was an act of faith. Faith that someone would read these words someday, that they would matter to someone, that they would last. And they did last. Some of these papyrus scrolls survived thousands of years, buried in tombs, hidden in jars, protected by the dry desert air. And when they were found, when they were unrolled and read, the voices spoke again, clear and strong. The ancient Egyptians reached across millennia to say we were here. We lived. We thought and felt and created. We were human just like you. Writing was their gift to the future. Their way of saying, don't forget us. Don't forget what we learned, what we loved, what we believed mattered. And we haven't forgotten. We're still reading, still listening, still honoring those careful strokes of black and red ink on papyrus. Those patient scribes with their practice stones. Those libraries in the darkness. Those stories read aloud to listening crowds. The words are resting now. The scrolls are rolled up. The ink is dry. The libraries are quiet. And you can be quiet too. Can let the words you've heard today settle into you, become part of your own story, part of your own dreams. Rest now. Let the scribes rest. Let the papyrus rest. Let everything rest in the gentle darkness, in the patient silence, in the timeless quiet, where all knowledge sleeps until someone needs it again. When someone was hurt or ill in ancient Egypt, they weren't alone. There were people who knew how to help, people who had studied the body, who understood pain and healing, who approached suffering with gentle hands and patient hearts. Let's visit them now. Let's see how care was given in those distant days. The physicians of Egypt were respected, trusted. People came from other lands just to learn from them, to watch how they worked, to understand their methods. These weren't miracle workers. They didn't promise the impossible, but they knew things, practical things, things that actually helped. If you broke a bone, a physician would examine it carefully. Their fingers would move along the injury, feeling, assessing. They'd determine how bad it was, whether the bone needed to be set. Then if it did, they'd work slowly, one hand stabilizing, the other guiding the bone back into place. It hurt, yes, but it was quick. And then came the relief, the knowledge that it was aligned, that it could heal properly now. They'd make a splint from wood, wrap it with linen, not too tight, not too loose, just right, enough to keep the bone still while it knit itself back together. And they'd tell you to rest, to be patient. Bones take time. There's no rushing them. You'd go home. You'd wait. And slowly, week by week, the pain would lessen. Strength would return. The body doing what bodies do, healing themselves when given the chance. For wounds, there was honey, golden, thick, precious honey. It wasn't just for eating. It was medicine. The physicians knew this long before anyone understood why. Honey kept wounds clean, prevented infection. They'd wash a cut first with water, then pat it dry with clean linen. Then carefully using a wooden stick or clean fingers, they'd spread honey over the wound, a thin layer, covering it completely. The honey would seal it, protect it from dirt and flies, and underneath the wound would begin to heal, slowly closing, new skin growing. When the physician changed the dressing days later, they'd see progress, see that their treatment was working. They'd apply fresh honey, wrap it again, tell you to keep it clean, keep it dry, give it time. Let your shoulders drop now. Feel them release. Feel the weight of them settling. There's no tension to hold, nothing to brace against. Just let go. Garlic was everywhere, in meals, in medicine. Workers building the pyramids received garlic every day, not as a treat, as a necessity. People believed garlic made you strong, kept sickness away, and they weren't entirely wrong. Garlic has properties we understand now, properties they sensed then. It helped. That's all they needed to know. If you felt weak or tired, or like you might be getting sick, someone would give you garlic, raw cloves to chew, or crushed into food, or mixed with honey to make it more palatable. The taste was sharp, pungent, but that sharpness felt like power, like something working inside you, fighting for you, protecting you. There was a tree that grew near water, the willow. Its branches drooped gracefully. Its leaves whispered in the breeze, but its bark held something special, something that eased pain. If your head ached, if your joints hurt, if pain made it hard to rest, someone would prepare willow bark for you. They'd strip a piece of bark, boil it in water, until the water turned bitter. Then they'd give you the tea to drink. Or sometimes they tell you to simply chew the bark itself. It tasted terrible, bitter, and woody, but within a while the pain would begin to fade, not disappear entirely, but become manageable, become something you could live with. We know now that willow bark contains something similar to aspirin, but they didn't need to know that. They just knew it worked, that generations had used it, that the tree gave this gift freely, and that was enough. The physicians were often priests as well. This wasn't strange to them. The body and spirit weren't separate. They were intertwined, connected. A person might be sick because of something physical, an injury, an infection, but they might also be sick because their spirit was troubled, because they were afraid or sad or carrying worry they couldn't name. So the physician would treat both, would clean and bandage a wound, would prescribe herbs and rest, but would also speak prayers, would invoke the gods, would sit with the person and listen to their fears, would offer comfort alongside medicine, would treat the whole person, not just the body, not just the symptoms, everything together. Take a gentle breath now. Let it fill you slowly, then release it. Feel how your body knows how to breathe, how to heal, how to take care of itself when you allow it. There was wisdom in this approach, in recognizing that healing isn't just physical, that sometimes what hurts can't be seen or touched, that kind words and presence can be medicined too. The Egyptian physicians understood this intuitively, naturally. They didn't separate healing into categories. It was all one thing, all care, all attention, all love in a way. When someone was very ill, family would bring them to a healing temple. These were quiet places, peaceful. There were pools for bathing, gardens with medicinal herbs, rooms where you could rest undisturbed. Priests, who were also physicians, would tend to you, give you treatments, prepare special foods, offer prayers, create an environment where healing could happen. You'd stay as long as needed, days, weeks, whatever it took, and the family would visit, would sit with you, would bring small comforts from home. The healing wasn't just about the body getting better. It was about feeling cared for, feeling safe, feeling like you mattered enough for all this attention, all this effort. Not everyone got better, of course. Medicine has its limits, always has. The physicians knew this, accepted it. They did what they could, used their knowledge, their skill, their compassion. But they also understood that some things were beyond their reach. Some illnesses were too great, some injuries too severe. And when that became clear, their role shifted from curing to comforting, from fighting illness to easing the journey. They'd make sure the person wasn't in pain, would give them willow bark or opium if needed, would keep them clean and comfortable, would stay with them so they weren't alone, would help the family prepare for what was coming. This too was medicine. This too was care, knowing when to strive and when to surrender, when to fight and when to simply be present with gentleness. The physicians are resting now. Their herbs are stored, their honey sealed in jars, their prayers said, and the people they helped are sleeping. Some healed, some healing, some past the need for healing. All of them touched by hands that cared, by knowledge passed down, by the simple, profound gift of one human trying to ease another's suffering. Rest with them now. Rest in that same spirit of care, of gentleness, of bodies that know how to heal when given time and peace. Just rest, just heal, just be. Time moved differently in ancient Egypt, not by clocks, not by schedules demanding your attention. Time moved with the river, with the sun, with the stars wheeling overhead. It was natural, unhurried, connected to the world itself. Let's feel that rhythm now. Let's understand how they measured their days and seasons without ever feeling rushed. The year had 3 seasons, only 3. That was all they needed. The first was Akhet, the inundation, the time when the Nile rose and spread across the fields, water covering everything, turning the land into a vast, peaceful lake. This was a time of waiting, of rest. The fields couldn't be worked while underwater, so people did other things, repaired tools, mended homes, visited family. There was no urgency. The water would recede when it was ready, not before. Then came Pere, the growing season. The water had pulled back now, left behind that gift of dark, rich soil. This was planting time. People would walk into their fields, press seeds into the soft earth, barley, wheat, vegetables, each seed a small hope, a small promise. Then more waiting, more patience, watching the green shoots appear, watching them grow taller day by day, watering when needed, weeding, tending, but mostly just letting nature do what nature does. Finally, Shemu, the harvest. The crops had grown tall and golden, ready. This was the busiest time. Everyone working together to bring in what the earth had produced. Cutting, bundling, carrying. It was hard work, but good work. Work with a clear purpose. Work that ended each day with visible results. With baskets full. With storage rooms filling. With the satisfaction of knowing your family would eat, would be safe through the next cycle. Each season lasted 4 months. Each month had 30 days. Simple, regular, easy to track. And at the end of the year, there were 5 extra days. 5 days that belonged to no month. These were sacred days, festival days, the birthdays of the gods, they said. Days outside of normal time. Days for celebration, for gathering, for marking the completion of one cycle and the beginning of another. Let your breathing slow even more now. So slow it's barely there, like time itself slowing down, like the gentle turning of seasons. Nothing sudden, nothing jarring, just the natural progression from one moment to the next. The Egyptians watched the sky, really watched it, not glancing up occasionally, but observing, night after night, year after year. They knew the stars, knew their patterns, knew where each one would be at different times of the year, and they used this knowledge, this patient accumulation of observation. There was one star that mattered most, Sirius, the brightest star in the sky. For most of the year you couldn't see it. It rose during the day when the sun outshone it. But then, on one particular morning each year just before dawn, Sirius would appear on the horizon, just for a moment before the sun rose. And when the priests saw this, they knew the inundation was coming. The Nile would begin to rise within days. Year after year, this proved true. Sirius appeared. The flood came. It was reliable, predictable, a conversation between earth and sky, between the river and the stars. The Egyptians simply listened, simply paid attention, and the universe told them what they needed to know. The day was divided into hours. 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of darkness. But these weren't the fixed hours we know. These hours stretched and compressed with the seasons. In summer, when the sun stayed longer, each daytime hour was longer. Each nighttime hour was shorter. In winter, it reversed. The day hours shrunk, the night hours expanded. This might seem imprecise, confusing, but it made perfect sense to them because they weren't trying to force time into artificial containers. They were acknowledging reality. The sun does stay longer in summer. Nights are shorter. Why pretend otherwise? Why not let your measurements reflect what's actually happening? So they did. And time remained connected to the world, to what you could see and feel, not to some abstract system divorced from experience. There were no alarm clocks, no jarring sounds dragging you from sleep. You woke when light came, when your body had rested enough, when the natural rhythm of consciousness returned. Some mornings that might be earlier, some mornings later. It depended on how tired you'd been, how deeply you'd slept, how much your body needed. And that was fine. That was natural. That was listening to yourself instead of ignoring yourself. The same with sleep. When darkness came, when the work was done, when tiredness arrived, you slept. You didn't fight it, didn't push through it to do more, didn't drink something to stay awake longer. You simply honored what your body was telling you. Lay down, closed your eyes, and let sleep come. Your eyelids are so heavy now. If they're still open, that's all right. But they want to close. You can feel that pull, that gentle weight. It's okay to surrender to it, to stop resisting, to let them rest. This way of living with time created a different experience of life. There was less anxiety, less rushing, less feeling like you were always behind, always trying to catch up to some external demand. Because there was no external demand. There was just the day, just the season, just the work that needed doing, and the rest that needed taking. Everything in its time, everything in its natural order. The year would end. The 5 sacred days would pass, and then a new year would begin. The cycle would start again. Aket, Pere, Shemu, the flood, the planting, the harvest, over and over, year after year, century after century. The same rhythm, the same pattern, reliable as the stars, constant as the river. There's something deeply comforting about this, about knowing what comes next, about trusting the cycle, about understanding that after harvest comes rest, after rest comes growth, after growth comes abundance, and then rest again. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is forever. Everything moves in its season. Everything passes. Everything returns. You can rest in this rhythm, can let yourself be held by it, can stop trying to control time, and instead, let time carry you. Let it move through its cycles while you move through yours, waking and sleeping, working and resting, effort and ease. All of it natural, all of it right, all of it exactly as it should be. The Egyptians are sleeping now through their own cycles, through thousands of years, through seasons they'll never see. But the pattern continues. The river still rises. The stars still wheel. Time still moves in its patient, eternal way. And you can move with it, can let this day end, can let this year end, can let everything end that needs to end, and trust that morning will come, that new seasons will arrive, that the cycle will continue. Now sleep. Let time carry you. Let the rhythm hold you. Let everything be exactly as gentle and natural as the turning of seasons. Just sleep. Just rest. Just be held by time itself. Not every day was ordinary. Some days were special, set apart. Days when work stopped and celebration began. Days when the whole community came together. When joy was the only purpose. Let's join them now. Let's feel what it was like when ancient Egypt celebrated, when the streets filled with music and laughter and the shared happiness of being alive together. The festival of Opet was one of the grandest. It lasted for days, sometimes weeks. Time seemed to stretch during festivals, to expand and become more generous. The celebration began at the great temple of Karnak. Inside, in the darkest, most sacred chamber, sat the statue of Amun, the king of gods, hidden away most of the year. But during Opet, he would travel. Priests would carefully lift the statue, place it on a ceremonial boat. Not a real boat, a boat made to be carried on poles, decorated with gold and flowers and colored fabric that caught the breeze. Then slowly, solemnly, the procession would begin. Priests carrying the boat, musicians playing, incense burning in great bronze holders, the smoke rising, the fragrance spreading, sweet and mysterious. People lined the streets. Families had been waiting since before dawn to get a good spot. Children sat on their fathers' shoulders to see over the crowd. Everyone watching, everyone quiet as the procession passed, then breaking into cheers, into songs, into prayers called out with joy and hope. The God was among them, visible, present. It felt sacred and celebratory all at once. The procession moved slowly toward Luxor Temple, miles away. But there was no rushing. The journey was part of the ceremony, part of the blessing. People would follow along, walking beside the procession, singing, dancing, the whole city moving together in one long, joyful river of humanity. Let your whole body soften now, your arms, your legs, your back. Imagine yourself in that crowd, not pushing, not straining, just moving along, part of something larger. Held by the gentle momentum of community, food appeared everywhere during festivals, not for sale, free, given freely. Tables set up in the streets with bread piled high, jars of beer being poured into cups, the smell of meat roasting over open fires, rich and savory, making your mouth water even if you'd already eaten. This was abundance. This was generosity. This was the community saying, we have enough. We can share. We will share. You could walk up to any table. Didn't matter if you were rich or poor. Didn't matter if you were known or a stranger. Someone would hand you bread, pour you beer, offer you a portion of roasted duck or goat. You'd eat standing in the street, talking with people around you. Strangers becoming friends over shared food, over shared joy. This was the point. This breaking down of barriers. This remembering that you're all the same, all human, all hungry, all grateful. Music filled every corner. Professional musicians hired by the temple. Harpists with their fingers dancing across strings. Drummers setting rhythms that made your heart match their beat. Flute players sending melodies spiraling into the air. But it wasn't just them. Regular people played too, brought their own instruments, joined in, added their voices, their rhythms. Nobody conducting, nobody directing, just music finding itself, growing, evolving, becoming something collective and beautiful. And there was dancing. Oh, the dancing. Professional dancers performed elaborate routines, their bodies moving in ways that seemed impossible, spinning, leaping, bending, their movements telling stories, expressing joy, expressing devotion. The crowd would watch mesmerized, would cheer at particularly impressive moves, would gasp at near impossible balance. But then, the professionals would step back, and the regular people would dance, not with training, not with skill necessarily, just with enthusiasm, with the need to move. to express the happiness bubbling inside them. Old men would dance with stiff knees, but wide smiles. Young women would grab each other's hands and spin in circles. Children would jump and twirl with complete abandon. Nobody judging, nobody comparing, just everyone moving, everyone participating in the physical expression of joy. Take a slow breath now. Feel how good it feels to just breathe. How simple, how sufficient. You don't need to do anything else. Just be here. Just breathe. Just rest. The children loved festivals most of all, because rules relaxed during celebration. Bedtimes disappeared. You could stay up as late as you wanted, as late as you could manage, before sleep finally claimed you. You could eat sweets, dates soaked in honey, cakes made with precious ingredients saved for special occasions. Your parents would smile and let you have another and another, because this was a day outside of normal days, a time outside of normal time. Children would run through the crowds, playing games, chasing each other between the adults, watching the dancers with wide eyes, listening to stories told by old men who'd had too much beer and become generous with their tales. Tales of other festivals, of years long past, of when they were young and the world seemed infinite and full of wonder. The children would listen, would imagine, would store these moments away in their memories, would carry them forever. As the festival finally wound down, as the statue of Amun reached Luxor Temple and was carried inside, as the music gradually quieted and the crowds began to disperse, a particular kind of tiredness would settle over everyone. Not the tiredness of hard work, the tiredness of joy, of having celebrated so fully that your body was spent, your voice hoarse from singing, your feet sore from dancing, your stomach full, your heart fuller. People would walk home slowly, in small groups, arms around each other's shoulders, still humming the songs, still remembering the best moments. Did you see when that dancer jumped? Did you taste that roasted meat? Did you hear the little girl singing, sharing the memories, making them more real by speaking them aloud, by confirming that, yes, this happened. We were there. We experienced this together. Children would fall asleep in their father's arms, carried home already dreaming, their small bodies completely limp with exhaustion and contentment, their faces still holding traces of smiles. Adults would make it home, would collapse onto their beds, would maybe exchange a few quiet words about the day. Then sleep would take them. Deep sleep, complete sleep, the sleep of people who've lived fully, who've celebrated without holding back, who've given themselves completely to joy and community, and now can rest in the satisfaction of it. The festival is over now. The streets are quiet again. The music has faded. The food has been eaten. The dancers have gone home. But the feeling remains. The memory of connection, of celebration, of being part of something beautiful and communal and human. You can carry that feeling with you now. That sense of having celebrated, having participated, having been held by community and joy. Let it wrap around you like a blanket. Let it ease you into sleep. Let it remind you that life isn't just work and effort. It's also this gathering, this sharing, this joy. Rest in that now. Rest in the afterglow of celebration. Rest in the deep, satisfied tiredness of a day well lived. Just rest. Just sleep. Just let the festival fade into dreams. Movement in ancient Egypt was gentle, unhurried. Nobody rushed from place to place. Nobody felt the pressure of being late. You simply went, at the pace the world allowed, at the pace your body preferred, and somehow everything that needed to happen still happened. Let's travel with them now. Let's feel what it was like to move through their world, slowly, peacefully, connected to every moment of the journey. The river was the main road, the highway that nature had built, and the simplest way to travel it was in a papyrus boat. These boats were made from the same reeds that gave them paper, bundles of papyrus stalks bound tightly together, shaped into a gentle curve, both ends rising up out of the water like the crescent moon. These boats were light, so light a single person could carry one. You'd drag it to the water's edge, push it in, step aboard carefully, feeling it rock beneath you. Then you'd sit, take up a paddle, and begin to move across the water, each stroke smooth, steady, the boat responding immediately, gliding forward with barely any effort. The water beneath you was clear enough to see fish swimming, dark shapes moving in the green depths. The sun would reflect off the surface in 1,000 tiny sparks of light. The boat would make soft sounds, the gentle lap of water against papyrus, the creak of reeds settling under your weight, your paddle dipping in and pulling back, creating small whirlpools that spun away behind you. Everything peaceful, everything in its time. For longer journeys, or for carrying cargo, there were larger boats, wooden ones with sails. When the wind blew from the north, which it usually did, you'd raise the sail, a large rectangle of linen stretched between wooden poles. The wind would catch it, the fabric would billow and snap, and the boat would begin to move, not fast, but steady, pushed along by invisible hands. You could sit back then, let the wind do the work, watch the shore slide by, watch the sky, watch nothing in particular. If you needed to go south against the wind, you'd lower the sail, take up oars, and row. The rhythm would be set by whoever was leading, a steady beat, pull, release, pull, release. Your body would find the pattern, your muscles would remember, and you'd row for hours, sometimes, not thinking about it, just doing it, the motion becoming meditation, the repetition becoming rest in its own way. Let your legs go completely limp now, your feet, your toes. Imagine them as heavy as stones, sinking, resting. No tension anywhere, just weight and softness and complete release. These journeys took time, days often. You'd travel during daylight hours, when you could see, when the air was pleasant, and as the sun began to set, as the sky turned orange and pink and purple, you'd look for a place to stop, a gentle slope in the riverbank, a sandy beach, somewhere safe and accessible. You'd guide the boat to shore, secure it. Then everyone aboard would disembark, would stretch legs that had been still too long, would gather driftwood for a fire, would set up a simple camp right there on the bank. Maybe you'd brought food with you, bread, dried fish, dates, or maybe you'd catch something fresh from the river, scale it, clean it, roast it over the fire until the skin crackled and the flesh turned white and flaky. The fire would burn warm and bright, pushing back the darkness, creating a small circle of light and safety. You'd eat slowly, the food tasting better somehow than it did at home, maybe because you'd worked for it, traveled for it, or maybe just because you were hungry and tired and the fire was warm and the stars were coming out one by one overhead. People would talk, tell stories, share what they knew about the river ahead, about villages they'd visited, about people they'd met, Or sometimes people would just sit quietly, listening to the fire crackle, to the river moving past, to the night birds calling from somewhere in the reeds, comfortable in the silence, not needing to fill it with words. Then, when sleep became impossible to resist, you'd wrap yourself in your cloak, lie down on the sand or on a woven mat you'd brought, use your bag as a pillow, and sleep right there, under the open sky, with the stars watching, with the river singing its eternal song beside you, with the fire dying slowly to embers. The sleep that came was deep, complete, the kind of sleep you only get when you've been outside all day, when your body is tired in a good way, when the earth itself seems to be holding you. On land, most people walked, everywhere. It was normal, expected. You'd walk to your field in the morning, walk to the market to trade, walk to visit a friend in the next village, your bare feet or simple sandals connecting you to every step, to the texture of the path, to the warmth of sun-baked earth, or the coolness of shade. Walking wasn't something to get through, wasn't just the annoying part between where you were and where you wanted to be. It was part of life, part of the day. You'd notice things while walking, a bird's nest you hadn't seen before, a neighbor working in their garden, children playing by the road. You'd stop and talk sometimes, exchange greetings, ask about family, share a bit of news. These small interactions woven into the journey, making it richer, making it more than just movement. For heavy loads, there were donkeys, patient creatures with long ears and steady temperaments. You'd load baskets onto their backs, balanced carefully on either side. The donkey would stand still while you worked. Then when you were ready, you'd make a small sound, a click of your tongue, a gentle word, and the donkey would begin to walk, slow and careful, never rushing, never complaining, just doing what needed to be done. People cared for their donkeys, fed them well, made sure they had water and shade, brushed their coats, checked their hooves, spoke to them kindly, because these animals were partners, helpers. They deserved respect, deserved care, and in return they gave their strength, their reliability, their uncomplaining service. Oxen pulled heavier loads, plows through fields, carts loaded with stone or grain. They were massive and strong, their shoulders built for work, their necks thick with muscle, but they were gentle too, despite their size. You could walk right up to an ox, touch its face, and it would just stand there, blinking slowly, breathing its warm, hay-scented breath, unbothered, unafraid. Now imagine yourself on that papyrus boat again. Feel it beneath you, rocking gently, the water moving underneath, carrying you. You don't need to paddle, don't need to steer. Just let yourself be carried. Let the current take you wherever it's going. Trust it. Trust the river. Trust the gentle momentum of water that knows its way home. Your arms are floating beside you. Your legs are loose. Your head is resting on something soft. The sun is warm, but not too hot. A breeze touches your face. You can hear water, always water, that eternal sound, that oldest lullaby, and you're moving, drifting, going somewhere, but not worrying about when you'll arrive, not counting the distance, not watching time, just being here, on the water, under the sky, moving at the speed of rivers, at the speed of peace, at the speed of perfect, unhurried contentment. The journey will end when it ends. You'll arrive when you arrive. And until then, there's just this moment, this gentle rocking, this soft movement through a world that isn't rushing, that isn't demanding, that's simply being, simply carrying you home. Let it carry you now. Let the boat become your bed. Let the river become your dreams. Let everything else fall away until there's only this, only water and peace, and the slow, patient journey toward rest, toward sleep, toward home. Clothing in ancient Egypt was simple, beautifully simple, not because people lacked creativity or resources, but because they understood what the body needed, what made sense in the heat, what allowed you to move and breathe and be comfortable through long, warm days. Let's feel that comfort now, that lightness, that freedom of wearing just enough and nothing more. Linen was everything, the only fabric that really mattered. It came from flax plants that grew tall and green in the fields. After harvest, the stems would be soaked in water until the fibers could be separated. Then those fibers were spun into thread, fine thread, strong thread, thread that could be woven into fabric so light it seemed to float. The best linen was incredibly thin, so thin you could see through it, almost transparent, like a mist, like a whisper. The wealthy prized this fabric, would pay handsomely for it, because wearing such delicate material was a statement, a celebration of craftsmanship, of the weaver's skill, of the patience it took to create something so fine it was almost not there. But even common linen was wonderful. It breathed. Let air pass through. When you wore linen in the Egyptian heat, you didn't feel suffocated, didn't feel trapped. The fabric moved with you, allowed the breeze to touch your skin, absorbed moisture when you perspired, then dried quickly in the sun. It was perfect, exactly right for the place and the climate and the life people lived. Men wore a simple garment called a shendite, just a piece of cloth wrapped around the hips, tucked in at the waist, hanging to the knees, or sometimes mid-thigh. That was all. No complicated fastenings, no buttons or ties to struggle with. You could put it on in moments, adjust it easily throughout the day, and if you needed to work, to move quickly to bend or reach or climb the shendite, moved with you, never restricted, never got in the way. Imagine wearing something like that, feeling the fabric against your skin, light as a breath, the air touching your chest, your arms, your legs. The sun warm but not oppressive, because you're not trapped in layers. You're almost bare, almost part of the air itself, free, comfortable, uncomplicated. Women wore longer dresses, often just a straight piece of fabric wrapped around the body. Some versions had straps over the shoulders, thin straps, simple. Some dresses were held up just by being wrapped tightly enough, the fabric clinging gently to the body's shape, following the natural curves without constraining them. These dresses were elegant in their simplicity, no embellishment needed. The fall of the fabric was beauty enough, the way it moved when you walked, the way it caught the light. White linen in the Egyptian sun seemed to glow, seemed to be made of light itself. Women would walk through the streets, looking like they were draped in moonlight, in captured brightness, in pure, simple grace. Let your clothing feel loose now. Let it barely touch you. Let there be space between fabric and skin, space for air, space for comfort. If anything feels tight, imagine it loosening. Imagine it falling away until you're wearing almost nothing, until you're as free as those ancient people in their simple linen. Just enough, just right. Children, as we've said, often wore nothing at all, just their skin, just themselves. And there was a beautiful practicality to this. Children get dirty. It's what they do. They play in the mud. They splash in the water. They explore and climb and fall and get back up. If they wore clothes, those clothes would need constant washing, constant mending, constant attention. But bare skin, you could rinse a child off in the river in moments. The sun would dry them almost instantly. And they were ready to play again, to run again, to be children again, without anyone worrying about ruined garments. It was freedom for the children and simplicity for the parents. Everyone benefited. When clothes did get dirty, washing them was a communal activity. Early in the morning, before the heat became intense, women would gather at the riverbank. They'd bring their families' garments in baskets balanced on their heads or hips. They'd wade into the shallows, kneel on the smooth stones, and begin their work. The washing was rhythmic, almost meditative. You'd take a piece of clothing, dip it in the water, lay it across a flat stone, then take another stone in your hand and beat the fabric, not violently, just firmly, methodically. The beating would loosen the dirt, force it out of the fibers. Then you'd rinse the garment, dip it again, let the river carry the dirt away, downstream, gone. The women would talk while they worked, share news, tell stories, laugh at someone's joke, their hands never stopping, the rhythm continuing, dip, beat, rinse, repeat. It was work, yes, but it was also social time, community time, the kind of work that's easier when shared, when accompanied by voices and laughter and the sound of water and stones and fabric beaten clean. After washing, the clothes would be wrung out, twisted tight to squeeze the water free, then spread on bushes or rocks to dry. The sun did its work quickly. Within an hour or two, the linen would be dry, stiff at first from the water and sun, but then, as you wore it, as your body warmed it and moved in it, the fabric would soften, would become pliable again, would feel like a second skin, gentle, familiar, home. There was something honest about this way of dressing. No hiding, no pretending to be something you weren't. The clothes were simple because life was clear, direct. You needed protection from the sun. You needed modesty. You needed comfort in the heat. The linen provided all of this. Nothing more was necessary. Nothing more was desired. Even the wealthy who could afford elaborate garments, if they wanted, often chose simplicity. A finer grade of linen, yes, a more skilled weaver, but still the same basic shapes, the same straightforward designs, because they understood something important, that true elegance isn't about complexity. It's about knowing exactly what's needed and providing precisely that. No more, no less. Just right. Now feel your own clothing against your skin. Is it heavy? Is it tight? Imagine it becoming lighter, softer. Imagine it's the thinnest linen, almost not there. Just a gentle presence, a whisper of fabric between you and the air. Feel how your body relaxes when it's not constrained, when it's not held or pinched or pressed, when it's free to simply be, to breathe, to rest. The Egyptians are sleeping now in their simple linen shifts, or in nothing at all. Just clean skin against clean sheets, against the woven surface of their beds. They're comfortable, they're cool enough, they're free of any restriction, any discomfort, any unnecessary weight, and you can join them in that comfort, that simplicity, that perfect unencumbered ease. Let everything heavy fall away. Let everything complicated dissolve until you're as simple as linen, as light as air, as free as a child running barefoot by the river, nothing binding you, nothing weighing you down, just you, just your body, just the gentle presence of breath and warmth and absolute, complete comfort. Rest in that now. Sleep in that simplicity. Dream in that freedom. Just let go. Let everything be as easy and light and soft as linen in the Egyptian sun. Just rest. Just sleep. Just be. There was a word in ancient Egypt that held everything together. A concept that shaped how people lived, how they thought about right and wrong, how they understood the world. The word was ma'at, and it meant balance, truth, order, harmony, the way things should be. Let's rest with this idea for a while. Let's feel what it meant to live with Ma'at as your guide. Ma'at wasn't complicated. It wasn't a long list of rules or difficult philosophy. It was simple, natural, like the river flowing in its banks, like the sun rising and setting, like seeds growing into plants. Everything in its place, everything in its time, everything as it should be. That was Ma'at. That was the goal. Not perfection, just balance, just rightness, just things working the way they were meant to work. Every person had a role in maintaining Ma'at, not through grand gestures, through small ones, through daily choices, speaking the truth, even when a lie would be easier, treating others with respect, doing your work well, sharing when you had extra, accepting help when you needed it. These small acts kept the world balanced, kept everything flowing smoothly, like individual drops of water, combining to make the river strong. There were texts, collections of wisdom passed down, written carefully on papyrus, teachings about how to live well, how to be a good person. These weren't commandments. They were advice, gentle suggestions from people who'd lived longer, who'd learned through experience, who wanted to share what they knew. One teaching said, "Be slow to speak, quick to listen. Silence is more valuable than hasty words." This wasn't about never speaking. It was about waiting, thinking first, letting others finish, really hearing what was being said before forming your response. It was about respect, about recognizing that listening is its own form of wisdom, sometimes more important than speaking. Another teaching advised, be humble. No matter how much you know, there's always more to learn. The person you're talking to, no matter how simple they seem, might know something you don't, might see something you've missed. Stay open, stay curious, stay humble. This was the path to continued growth, to never becoming stuck or rigid or thinking you'd figured everything out. Let your mind become quiet now. Stop trying to think. Stop trying to understand or analyze or remember. Just let thoughts drift by like clouds, barely noticed, barely there, just space, just stillness, just the gentle emptiness of a mind at rest. Respect for elders was woven into everything. They'd lived through decades you hadn't seen. They'd made mistakes and learned from them. They'd experienced joys and sorrows and everything in between. All of that was stored in them, available, valuable. When an older person spoke, you listened. You considered their words. You didn't dismiss them just because their ideas seemed old-fashioned. Because wisdom doesn't age. Truth doesn't become less true just because time passes. Families would gather around grandparents, would ask their advice about marriages, about raising children, about dealing with difficult neighbors, about managing a small farm, about anything that mattered. And the grandparents would share what they knew, sometimes through direct advice, sometimes through stories, tales of when they faced something similar, what they tried, what worked, what didn't. The teaching delivered gently, wrapped in narrative, easy to receive, easy to remember. Death wasn't feared in ancient Egypt. It wasn't the end. It was a transition, a journey to another place, another form of existence. This belief shaped everything: the way tombs were built, the way bodies were preserved, the care taken to provide for the deceased, but also the way living people approached their own mortality, without panic, without desperate clinging, with acceptance, with calm preparation. If you knew death was just a doorway, you could walk through your life differently, without the frantic need to do everything now, to have everything now, to be everything now. You could take your time, could trust that whatever you didn't finish here, you'd continue there, that nothing was truly lost, that all of it, all of life, was one long journey with different phases, different rooms in the same house. This created a particular kind of peace. You'd see it in how people moved, how they spoke, how they made decisions. There was less anxiety, less fear, less desperate grasping, because nothing was ending. Everything was continuing, just in a different form, in a different place, but continuing, always continuing. Simplicity was considered a virtue, not because complexity was bad, but because simplicity was honest, was clear, was true to what actually mattered. You didn't need to accumulate things endlessly, didn't need to prove yourself through possessions. You needed shelter, food, clothing, family, community, purpose. These were the essentials. Everything else was just extra. Nice to have, perhaps, but not necessary. Not worth anxiety. Not worth sacrificing peace for. People would look at someone with a simple home, simple clothes, simple meals, and see wisdom. See someone who understood what mattered, who wasn't distracted by accumulation, who was free to focus on relationships, on craft, on the quality of their days rather than the quantity of their possessions. This was respected. This was admired. This was the goal. There was a teaching that said, everything comes in its time. You can't rush the harvest. You can't force a flower to bloom before it's ready. You can't make the sun rise faster. So why rush yourself? Why push and strain and worry? Do your part. Plant the seeds. Tend the garden. Water when needed. Then wait. Trust. The harvest will come when the harvest comes. Not before. Not because you worried about it, but because that's what harvests do. They come in their time. Your body is so heavy now, so relaxed, like you've melted into whatever is beneath you, like you've become part of it. No separation, no tension, no holding, just complete total release, just weight and warmth, and the deep, deep peace of letting go. The Egyptians are sleeping now with these truths held loosely in their hearts. Mayat and balance, listening and humility, respect and acceptance, simplicity and trust. These aren't burdens, aren't things to stress about or try to force. They're just reminders, gentle ones, about how life flows best, about how to move through your days with less resistance, less struggle, more ease, more peace. You can carry these too if you want, or you can let them go. Either way is fine. Either way leads to the same place, to rest, to sleep, to the deep quiet where nothing needs to be figured out, or understood, or remembered, where you can just be, just breathe, just exist without effort or purpose or direction. Just float in the dark warmth of sleep. Let the wisdom fade Let the words dissolve. Let everything become simple and soft and perfectly beautifully quiet. Just sleep now. Just rest. Just let go of everything and drift into the gentle darkness where nothing matters and everything is exactly as it should be. The temple stood at the heart of every community, not just as a building, as a presence, a place that held more than prayers, that offered more than worship. Let's step inside now, slowly, reverently. Let's feel what it was like to enter these spaces where the sacred and the everyday met and merged into something peaceful, something whole. From the outside, temples were massive, stone walls rising high, pylons marking the entrance like giant gateposts, hieroglyphs carved deep into the surface, stories told in stone. But all of that grandeur was just the shell, the invitation. The real temple began when you stepped through the gate, when you left the noise and heat of the street behind, when you crossed from the ordinary world into something different. Inside, the temperature dropped immediately. The thick stone walls kept the heat out, kept the coolness in. It was like stepping into a cave, into the earth itself. Your eyes would need a moment to adjust. The light was dim, filtered, coming from small openings high up in the walls, shafts of dusty sunlight cutting through the darkness, creating patterns, creating a sense of something beyond the physical. The first courtyard was open to the sky. Anyone could enter here. You'd see people standing quietly, some with their eyes closed, some looking up at the carved columns, some just being present, taking a moment away from their day, from their work, from their worries, just breathing, just being in this space that felt different from everywhere else, more peaceful, more still, more patient. Beyond the courtyard, if you were allowed further, you'd pass between enormous columns, stone pillars as wide as trees, carved to look like papyrus plants or lotus flowers. The capitals at the top spreading out like blossoms, holding up the roof, holding up the sky. Walking between these columns was like walking through a stone forest, ancient, eternal, unchanging. You felt small, but not insignificant, just part of something larger, something that would continue long after you were gone. The deeper you went into the temple, the darker it became. The ceilings lower, the spaces more intimate. This was intentional. The journey inward was a journey into mystery, into the unknown, into the sacred heart of things. Only priests could enter the innermost sanctuary, the Holy of Holies, where the statue of the god resided in almost complete darkness, where offerings were made in whispers, where the divine was thought to truly dwell. Let your eyelids grow heavier. Let the world around you grow dimmer, like you're walking deeper into the temple, into darker, quieter spaces, where less and less intrudes, where you can finally fully rest. Every morning, priests would perform rituals. They'd wake the god, not literally, of course, but symbolically. They'd open the doors of the inner shrine. They'd wash the statue with water from the sacred lake. They'd dress it in fresh linen. They'd offer food, bread, beer, meat, fruit, all of it done slowly, carefully, with attention to every detail, every gesture. Because this wasn't just routine. This was relationship. This was care. This was honoring the divine presence they believed inhabited that stone form. The priests moved through these rituals in silence mostly, or with quiet chanting, the words worn smooth by repetition, by being said the same way every day for generations. There was comfort in this, in the unchanging nature of it, in knowing that your grandfather had done this, his grandfather before him, going back through time until the beginning of memory. You were part of a chain, a continuation, connected to all who came before and all who would come after. Regular people would come to the temple with their own offerings, their own prayers. They couldn't enter the inner sanctuaries, but they could stand in the outer courtyards, could place their gifts at designated altars, could speak their hopes and fears to the gods they trusted. The offerings were simple: a loaf of bread still warm from baking, a handful of flowers picked that morning, a small cup of wine. Not grand gestures, just what they could spare, what felt right to give. The prayers were simple too, not elaborate speeches, just honest words from honest hearts. Please keep my children healthy. Please let the harvest be good. Please help my mother who is ill. Please bring my husband home safely from his journey. Basic hopes, universal needs, the things that mattered most. The gods didn't need flattery, didn't need complex theology, just sincerity, just the truth of what you needed, what you feared, what you hoped for. Behind the temple was often a sacred lake, a rectangular pool of water kept clean and pure. Priests would bathe here before performing rituals, would draw water from here for washing the statues. But there were also gardens, real gardens with real plants, lotus flowers floating on the water, their white and blue petals perfect against the green lily pads, palm trees providing shade, sycamore figs offering both beauty and fruit, flowers planted in careful rows, all of it maintained by temple workers, all of it offered as another kind of worship, beauty as prayer, care as devotion. You could walk in these gardens if you needed peace, if the weight of life was too heavy and you needed somewhere to set it down for a while. You'd walk slowly along the stone paths, listen to water trickling from small fountains, watch dragonflies hover over the lotus pond, breathe in the scent of jasmine and myrrh, and gradually, without trying, you'd feel the tension ease, the worry loosen its grip, the peace of the place seeping into you, replacing what was heavy with something lighter, something easier to carry. Take a deep breath of that garden air now. Smell the flowers, hear the water, feel the coolness of shade after heat. Let it calm something in you that's been tense, that's been holding on too tightly. Just let it soften, let it release. Let the temple garden work its quiet magic on your restless mind. The temple wasn't just for spiritual matters, it was practical too. Grain was stored here, distributed during hard times. Schools operated within temple walls. Children learning to read and write, learning mathematics and astronomy. The sick were cared for here, given medicine and rest and prayer. The temple was a bank, a school, a hospital, a warehouse, but also a sanctuary, a refuge, a place where the community came together, where needs were met, where life in all its complexity was held and honored and supported. As evening came, as the last visitors left, as the priests completed their final rituals of the day, the temple would grow quiet, completely quiet, the stone absorbing all sound, the darkness becoming complete. And in that silence, in that darkness, the temple would rest, would sleep in its way, preparing for tomorrow, for another day of holding space, of offering peace, of being the still center around which the community turned. The temples are sleeping now, empty, dark, cool. the gods resting in their shrines, the gardens quiet under the stars, the sacred lake reflecting moonlight, everything at peace, everything exactly as it should be. And you can rest too, can let the temple hold you in its ancient stillness, can sleep in its stone embrace, can trust that you're safe here, protected here, at peace here, in this space that's been sacred for thousands of years. That's sacred still. Just rest, just sleep, just let the temple darkness wrap around you like a blanket, like a blessing, like the gentlest good night ever whispered. Sleep now, sleep deep, sleep in the peace of sacred spaces. Sleep. When darkness fell in ancient Egypt, the sky transformed, became something else entirely, something vast and mysterious and beautiful beyond words. There were no city lights to dim the stars, no glow on the horizon, no competing brightness, just darkness, pure darkness. And against that darkness, the stars emerged, thousands of them, millions of them. Let's lie down now and look up. Let's see what they saw. Let's feel what they felt beneath that infinite sky. The first stars would appear while there was still a bit of light left, just the brightest ones. Venus, perhaps hanging low on the horizon, Sirius, waiting for its moment. Then as the darkness deepened, more stars would reveal themselves. 1, then 5, then 20, then too many to count. They'd fill the sky from horizon to horizon, a river of light flowing overhead, the Milky Way stretching across the heavens like a pale road, like a path, like something you could almost walk on if you knew how. People would spread mats on their rooftops or on the sand near the river. They'd lie back, let their eyes adjust, and just watch, just be present with the enormity above them. Children would point, ask questions. What's that bright one? Why do some twinkle? Are they really so far away? And parents would answer what they knew, would share the stories they'd been told, would pass down the understanding that had accumulated over generations of watching, of wondering, of trying to make sense of this beautiful, mysterious display. The Egyptians saw patterns in the stars, constellations, groups that seemed to form shapes. They'd connect the dots in their minds. See a hunter there, a bull here, a bird spreading its wings. These weren't random groupings. They were meaningful, sacred. Each constellation was a god or a story, or both. Orion, the great hunter in the sky, was Osiris, the god who died and was reborn, who ruled the afterlife. Watching him cross the sky each night was watching a god journey, watching divinity in motion. These star patterns served practical purposes too. If you knew the constellations, you could navigate, could tell which direction was north, could guide yourself across the desert on moonless nights. The stars were maps, were guides, were companions for travelers, unchanging, reliable, always there when you needed them, always ready to show you the way home. Let your eyes close now. Behind your eyelids, imagine darkness, deep darkness, and in that darkness, points of light, distant, gentle, not demanding, just there, just shining, just being what stars are, constant, patient, eternal. The Egyptians believed that pharaohs became stars when they died, that their souls rose up and took their place among the lights above. So every star was potentially someone who had lived, someone who had been loved, someone who was still there, still watching, still present, just in a different form, in a different place. When you missed someone who'd died, you could look up, could find a star, and say maybe that one, maybe that's them. And whether it was true or not didn't matter. What mattered was the comfort, the connection, the feeling that death wasn't an ending, just a transformation, just a relocation to somewhere higher, somewhere bright. Priests studied the sky carefully. They noticed that most stars stayed in fixed patterns, moved together, rose and set in predictable ways. But some lights were different. They wandered, moved independently, changed position relative to the fixed stars. These were the planets, the wanderers: Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, Mercury, each moving according to its own rhythm, its own mysterious path. The priests didn't understand why, didn't have the mathematics or the physics, but they observed, they recorded, they noticed patterns. They saw that these movements were regular, predictable, that the universe, even in its mystery, followed rules, operated according to order. This was Ma'at again: balance, order. Even the heavens demonstrated it. Even the wandering stars moved in ways that could be anticipated, understood, eventually. Now imagine you're there, on a rooftop in ancient Egypt. The stones still warm beneath you from the day's heat, but cooling now. The night air gentle against your skin. You're lying on your back, a simple woven mat beneath you, maybe a thin cloth for a pillow, your arms at your sides, your legs straight, your whole body supported, held, safe. Above you the stars, so many stars, more than you've ever seen, more than you imagined existed. They don't overwhelm you, they comfort you, make you feel small, yes, but in a good way, in a way that takes the pressure off. Your problems seem smaller under such a sky, your worries less significant. You're just one small life, one brief moment, and that's okay. That's perfect. That's exactly what you're meant to be. The moon is rising now, not full, maybe 3/4, bright enough to dim the fainter stars, bright enough to cast shadows, soft gray shadows. Moonlight has a quality unlike sunlight. It's cooler, quieter, more mysterious. It doesn't reveal everything, just suggests, just hints, just shows you enough to see but not everything, leaving some mystery, some shadow, some space for imagination. The moonlight touches the Nile, reflects off the water, creates a shimmering path across the surface, a silver road, rippling, dancing, moving with the current. People would look at this and see more than reflected light. They'd see meaning. They'd see a pathway, the road that souls take when they leave the body, when they journey to the afterlife, following the silver path, walking on moonlight, crossing from this world to the next, on a bridge made of reflected glow. It's beautiful to think about. That death isn't a fall into darkness, but a walk into light, that the moon provides the path, that you don't go alone. You follow the light. You trust it. You walk until you reach the other side, where the gods wait, where Osiris welcomes you, where everything that was temporary becomes eternal, where rest is complete, where peace is perfect, where home is finally fully reached. Your breathing is so slow now, so quiet, like you're already halfway between waking and sleeping, between this world and the next, between consciousness and dreams. The stars are still there, still shining, still watching over you with their ancient patient light. The moon is still casting its silver path across the water, still offering its luminous road to anywhere, to everywhere, to nowhere that needs a name. You don't need to stay awake anymore. Don't need to keep watching. The stars will still be there tomorrow night, and the night after. They've been there for thousands of years. They'll be there for thousands more. They don't need your attention. They're happy just to shine, just to be, just to light the darkness without asking anything in return. You can close your eyes, can stop looking up, can turn inward instead, into sleep, into dreams, into the gentle darkness behind your eyelids where your own stars shine, your own light glows, your own peaceful universe unfolds. Rest there now, sleep there. Let the Egyptian sky fade, let the stars blur, let everything become soft and dark and perfectly wonderfully still. Just sleep, just dream, just drift on that silver path, following the moonlight home. Our journey is ending now, gently, slowly, the way all good things should end, with softness, with gratitude, with the quiet satisfaction of having traveled somewhere beautiful together. We've walked along the Nile, felt the cool water on our feet. We've stood before the pyramids, watched workers move stone by patient stone. We've sat in homes where families ate simple bread and told ancient stories. We've listened to music, watched children play, felt the rhythm of seasons turning. And now it's time to rest, time to let it all fade, time to sleep. The images are blurring now, becoming less distinct, less sharp. The river is still there, but softer, quieter. The pyramids are dissolving into sand and sky. The faces of the people we met are becoming dreamlike, gentle, fading into memory, into feeling. You don't need to hold on to any of it. Don't need to remember. Don't need to keep anything. Just let it go. Let it drift away like smoke, like morning mist over water, like breath into air, gone but not lost, just released, just returned to wherever stories go when we're done with them. Your body knows what to do now. It's been relaxing all this time, letting go bit by bit, muscle by muscle. Your head is heavy on the pillow. Your shoulders have melted into the mattress. Your arms are resting at your sides or folded on your chest. Wherever they are, they're comfortable. They're home. Your legs are still. Your feet quiet. Every part of you settled, supported, held by whatever is beneath you, trusting it completely, giving your full weight to it. Nothing to hold up, nothing to carry, just complete total release. Your breathing has found its rhythm, so slow now, so quiet, you might not even notice it anymore. Just the gentle rise and fall, the soft exchange of air, in through your nose, out through your mouth, or however it's happening. It doesn't matter. Your body knows. Let it breathe for you. Let it do what it's been doing since you were born, what it will keep doing as you sleep. Faithful, automatic, requiring nothing from you, nothing at all. If you're still awake, that's perfectly fine. There's no pressure, no expectation. Sleep will come when it comes, in its own time, in its own way. You can't force it, can't rush it, can only create the conditions and wait. And you've created them. You've relaxed. You've let go. You've traveled to ancient Egypt and back. You've filled your mind with gentle images and soft sounds. Now, all that's left is to wait, to rest, to float in this space between waking and sleeping. This liminal place, this threshold, this soft gray area where anything is possible, where dreams begin, where consciousness fades, where you can just be, without effort, without purpose, without anything required of you at all. Imagine you're on that boat again, that small papyrus boat we rode so long ago. At the beginning of this journey, you're lying in it now, on your back, looking up. The boat is drifting, no oars, no sail, no direction, just drifting wherever the current takes it. And the current is gentle, barely moving, just enough to create the sensation of movement, of going somewhere, of traveling without traveling, of motion without effort. The water beneath you is dark, deep, but not frightening, just dark, just deep. You can't see the bottom, don't need to. The boat holds you, keeps you safe, keeps you dry and comfortable and afloat. You trust it. Trust the water. Trust the darkness. Trust everything about this moment, this place, this gentle drifting into nowhere and everywhere at once. The sky above you is changing. The last light is fading. The sun has set completely now. The orange and gold have bled away. The sky is purple, deep purple, then darker, then almost black. Not the harsh black of ink or coal, the soft black of velvet, of night, of the space between stars. And the stars are appearing, one at a time at first, then faster, then all at once, filling the sky, filling your vision, filling everything with their gentle, distant light. You're floating beneath them, between water and stars, between earth and sky, between waking and sleeping, between everything, in the middle of it all, small and safe and perfectly wonderfully at peace. The boat rocks slightly, just a gentle sway, back and forth, like being rocked in someone's arms, like being a baby again, safe, loved, protected from everything. Nothing can reach you here. Nothing can disturb you. You're floating in a space outside of time, outside of worry, outside of everything except this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this perfect precious now. The stars are so bright, but your eyes are so heavy. It's harder and harder to keep looking, harder to stay focused, easier to just let your eyes close, to stop seeing, to turn inward, into the darkness behind your eyelids, into your own inner sky, your own inner stars. They're there too, shining, waiting, your own private universe, your own personal infinity. Rest there now, in that inner darkness, that inner quiet, that inner peace. Everything is fading. The boat, the water, the stars, Egypt, the journey, all of it becoming distant, becoming dream, becoming something you might have imagined, something you might remember tomorrow, or might not. It doesn't matter. What matters is this peace, this rest, this gentle descent into sleep, into dreams, into the soft, warm darkness where nothing is required, where nothing is expected, where you can simply be, simply breathe, simply exist without thought or worry or purpose. Good night. Sleep peacefully. May your dreams be gentle. May your rest be complete. May you wake tomorrow refreshed and renewed. But for now, just sleep. The Nile is still flowing. The stars are still shining. The ancient world is still there, waiting patiently in the past. And you are here, safe, warm, at peace. Good night. Sleep now. Sleep deeply. Sleep well. The journey is over. You've arrived. You're home. Good night.